Welcome to Season 2 of Share Pint, as we continue to tap into the craft beer scene. I'm Jerry Holla, your host. Today I'm talking with Earl Holman from Crooked Crab Brewing. Thanks for being on the show, Earl.
Thanks for having me.
Ben, walk us through some of the challenges that you faced during COVID and then how you overcame them.
COVID was obviously difficult for us as it was for a lot of people. When I remember when we first heard the news, I was actually on vacation that weekend with my wife. We were just enjoying a relaxing weekend at the beach, and then I heard that our tap room has to be shut down. We can't open to the public anymore after a certain date or something like that. And for a business, a small brewery like us, we get the majority of our revenue through our tap room. So not being able to pour a pint is like a terrifying proposition, right? And I remember this is supposed to be a relaxing weekend that I'm on, and now all I'm doing is stressing out. What are we going to do? But thankfully, we partner with Ironheart, the mobile canning company, and the first thing we did was we started pivoting all of our beer from draft towards can. That was honestly a saving grace for us. Thankfully, the state allowed us to remain open as an essential business, so we were able to continue making beer. And because liquor stores were still open, we're allowed to sell beer, and we were allowed to remain open as for takeout sales. Mm-hmm. So it was scary for sure, but we were able to, continue to do enough sales that we're able to keep all of our employees employed.
Oh, that's great.
We've been able to weather the storm, and now we're back open, at least with limited capacity. So it seems like things are moving in the right direction, which is great.
Great. Tell us what went into being able to use the parking lot out there for outdoor space. Since it's a shared space, I imagine there were some challenges with being able to do that, but yet that really helped you when you couldn't have people in the tap room.
Yeah, so the outdoor seating was nice. That was something we had to get approval from the landlord on. But that came at a time when we had zero capacity indoors. So if we wanted to serve anyone on site, we had to do the outdoor seating. So we asked them, and thankfully they were pretty understanding of where we were. Not being able to sell beer in our tap room, which was our primary business before. Thankfully, they let us rope off a couple spots in our front parking lot, set up some tables. And actually, some of the other businesses in this park also utilize outdoor space as well. There's a gym just next door to us.
Okay.
And, they've had yoga classes outside and other things like that. So everybody is all, we're all in this together. And I think that all the other tenants realize that. And, we have to sacrifice a couple parking spots in order to keep our business going. Everybody's been pretty cool about it.
Great. Well, as we were talking about, COVID's kind of forced everyone to pivot. We had to go to shooting remote for a while. I know when we talked with John at Union Brewing, they were talking about how they had to have their online anniversary event. They kind of shifted to that model. Tell us what you did to pivot for your third anniversary, which is this past February.
Yeah, so that was something we were actually pretty closely monitoring what other breweries were doing. In the past, whenever we've had anniversary parties, they've always been huge, massive events, and we get large crowds, and we bring everybody into the tap room. We tap a bunch of fun beers. We have a really good time. We didn't really feel comfortable doing that this year because we didn't want to promote large crowds on site. So one of the things we did to balance that was we put more of a focus on the takeout aspect.
Okay.
So a lot of the fun one-off variants that we typically do on draft, we actually released in Crowlers, and we let people come in and take them home with them, so they can still enjoy the same beers that we want everybody to enjoy and celebrate, but they could do it from the safety of their home instead of having people, forcing people to come on site.
Right.
Thankfully, we were still open on site, so people could still come here and try the beers, but it was under limited capacity, so there was limited tables. So we wanted to make sure we really pushed that the takeout aspect, just to try to satisfy as many people as possible.
Right. Well, it'd be interesting since the Eternal Death Slayer is and its variants is such a huge part of that. And imagine taking that home in a Crowler. It's good to be at home, but you need to be sharing that with a few people.
Yeah, that's a really fun beer. So we release that beer every year on our anniversary, Eternal Death Slayer. It's a bourbon barrel aged imperial stout, and we like to do, as you mentioned, like one-off variants of that. German chocolate, and Oreo cookie, peanut butter. All the different.
Some really good ones.
Yeah, they're really fun, and people really enjoy them. One of the things also that COVID forced us to do was there very quickly became a shortage on 32-ounce Crowlers because everybody had all this draft beer. They had nowhere to put it, so everybody started gobbling up as many Crowlers as they could.
Right.
We actually ran out of Crowlers and we couldn't find any. But we were able to find a company that was making 25-ounce Crowlers, which are like 750 milliliters. And we just bought an extension plate on our Crowler machine so we can use the same machine. And we actually like that format better because 32 ounces of a beer, especially a big imperial stout, can be pretty tough to drink.
Right.
But the 25-ounce format, it's a pint and a half. Still great to share with friends, but it's easier to drink by yourself if you wanted to. And that's one thing we've actually shifted a lot of our Crowler releases towards the 25-ounce Crowlers just because we find it to be a more approachable format.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And it kind of leads really perfectly into telling me maybe one or two things that you've been able to take from COVID that you think is going to help moving forward.
That also the canning, increased canning. Before COVID, it was a very ancillary part of our business. It's something that we did on occasion, like once a quarter here or there. Obviously, during the pandemic, we started canning every single week. We were canning all of our beer. And the sales have been so dramatic that now that we're open again, we are selling draft beer again in our tap room and out in the world. The cans were just so popular, we can't get away from them. So that's something that has stuck. And we'll continue to keep doing that going forward, try to put out as much beer in can format as possible. So when you come to our tap room, the idea being all this great beer that you could try on draft, we also have most, if not all of it, available in cans for you to take home with you.
Yeah.
And we find people gravitate towards that more than Crowlers, for example. So we do both, but having cans available all the time has been a really good thing for our business as a whole.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely expanded your footprint. You see yourself out there more. You've got great label art. It's very distinct for you, and so that's great. As more people are aware of it, and not only can get it, but like you said, now they're more aware of you to come into the tap room that you can start doing that.
Right. Yeah, and selling our beer, our cans out to liquor stores, it's gotten our beer into a lot more people's hands. It's really expanded our radius and our footprint within the state of Maryland and DC. And a lot more people, I think, have heard of us now and have tried our beer now than before, just because, somebody will grab a 4-pack from their local beer store, share a couple with some friends, and our beer gets out there a lot more than, just a draft, pour at a restaurant. So we still do that, but the cans have been, and like you mentioned, the labels are awesome. If you haven't seen any of our can art or, you're not familiar with it, check out our Instagram. Our artist, Chris Bishop, is awesome. He's an illustrator for PBS Kids as his day job. So he has a very cartoony, kind of fun vibe that works really well with our style. So we love all the can art that he does. I think it does set our cans apart from a lot of other brands. So that's something for sure that has been a major blessing for us since pandemic started.
Right. Well, let's talk about some of those because you've got some really neat beer series. Share a little bit of some of their stories with our audience. You can start wherever you like, or you can pick a few of my favorites.
Our beer, at a high level, we have some core brands that we try to keep on tap all the time. And then we have a bunch of seasonals that we constantly rotate. So anytime you come to our tap room, we'll have something different. So we have this Walked Into a Bar series where it's a 4.6% fruited sour. And we've done a few different, we just rotate the fruits. So we've done a boysenberry blueberry walked into a bar, raspberry peach walked into a bar. Those are always very well received. We always try to have at least one sour on tap in our tap room. And we had an idea one day of doing an imperial version of this series and amping up ABV up to 7.2. And one of the jokes that we always hear is because the beer is named Walked Into a Bar, everybody asks us, what's the punchline?
Right.
So one day we just decided, well, that will be the name of our Imperial series, is the Punchline series. So we have a whole series of Punchline sours that are kind of our more extreme, heavily fruited, sometimes spiced. We've done double blueberry pie. We have a Hawaiian Punchline on tap right now that's really fun. And then besides that, we've done a lot of like different IPA series that we like. We have a Juice NATO is a series of double IPAs that we've done that are really fun. So I think we've done like 3 iterations of that so far. We have a few like Avengers themed beers that we've done. It started with, we did a beer called Excelsior, which is one of our favorite beers that we've ever made. It's one of my favorite beers. It's just a New England style pale ale. And we did a double IPA version of that called Infinity Crab. And then we did a triple IPA version of that called End Crab, just kind of going off of the Avengers thing. And both of those beers were dynamite. Really love those. So,
and Chris did a nice job with the art to really tie that in with. I mean, you obviously use you embrace your Maryland heritage and Maryland theme and the crab, and there's so many variations he puts on it. That stuff is really cool.
So it has a hint of nostalgia, but it's still our own. And he does a great job with it, and the liquid's great too. So.
Absolutely. But I think that's really neat about the Walked Into a Bar and Punchline series, and I don't know how many people in our audience really kind of made that connection before, but I remember when I first heard it and made the connection, I was like, that's brilliant.
Yeah. And naming beers nowadays is so difficult.
Yeah.
There's like over 8,000 breweries right now in the United States, and every brewery makes hundreds of different beers every year.
It's hard to be original.
It's really difficult to be original, and so honestly, when you can come up with something like that nobody else has done, it's great. It's hard to do.
Yeah, no, that's great. Last August you were on Fermented Friday with Jim from the Brewers Association, and there was kind of a little discussion about possibly expanding. So can you maybe talk about that or give us an update?
Yeah, right now. So since then, we actually have bought a new tank. Thankfully, people like our beer, and we need to make more of it to keep everybody happy. Good problems to have. So we have bought some additional tanks for our production space. On top of that, our neighbors next door to us are in the process of moving out, so we're in some negotiations there with potentially taking over some space next door. Obviously, we need more space to make more beer if we want to keep growing, so it's something that we're looking into.
What kind of plans would you have for that space? Would that simply be for the equipment and brewing, expanding that side of it? Would there be any type of ability where you would expand your tap room? I mean, what have you kind of thought about how you'd use that space?
Yeah, ideally a little bit of both. If we're able to take over some space, I would like to for sure have more production space, have more tanks, more cold storage. You can never have enough of both of those.
Right.
But if there's some room left over, we could do something with the tap room, expand it a little bit further, maybe have a private event room or something like that. So there's a lot of possibilities. It's still a ways in the future. Right now we're very early stages of working that out, but all options that are on the table.
It's a good quote unquote problem to have.
Sure.
3 years in to say, hey, we need to expand.
Right.
So that's awesome. Where can people find Crooked Crab online? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yep. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's Crooked Crab Beer. Same thing. We keep it simple. Website is crookedcrabbrewing.com. We update all of those regularly. So definitely follow us: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we put that on our show notes and on our website at sharepintpodcast.com. We've learned about Crooked Crab. Let's get to know you a little bit better, Earl. We've got this new segment called Straight from the Tap. It's a series of 7 rapid-fire questions. So if you're up for it.
Sure. Shoot.
What's your favorite style of beer?
New England style pale ale.
Okay. What style do you wish more people appreciated, drank, or brewed?
Pilsners.
Pilsners? Okay. Who are 1 or 2 of your biggest influences?
Probably RAR and Dogfish Head.
Okay.
Yeah, the 2 breweries that I followed a lot when I was first getting into craft beer.
Okay. Who would you most like to do a collab with that you haven't collabed with already?
Uh, I would love to work with Other Half, brewery out of Brooklyn. I think their beers are dynamite. Love what they do. There's tons of breweries I'd love to work with.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Most memorable place you've ever had a beer?
The most memorable place I ever had a beer was the first time I traveled to Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a great beer scene up there. And I remember driving up there with a couple of my friends. This is probably back in 2014. Drove up there, long drive, long day. We finally get there. It's like 11 or like 10 o'clock at night. The bar that we stopped in is doing last call, and I had a pint of Sip of Sunshine from Lawson's on tap.
That's good.
And it was the first time I had that. It was fresh beer after a long car ride. Arguably, like the best pint of beer that I've ever had. Super memorable.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, what person, living or dead, would you most like to share a pint with, and what would it be a pint of?
Oh man, I would love to share a pint with Sam Calagione of Dogfish Head. Just a really inspirational figure in the craft beer scene. What he was able to do, start a small brewery, build it, and grow it. He seems to remain very humble and close to his craft roots. I would probably share a pint of 60-minute IPA because it's one of the most. It's a beer that has helped change the way that people perceive craft beer. It was a very revolutionary beer at the time. So I think that's what I would love to do that.
That's great. All right, last question. When COVID is over and travel's safe again, where are you most looking forward to drinking a beer?
I'd love to go back to Vermont again, honestly. I try to go up there every year. It's been probably 2 or 3 years since I've gone. There's so many good breweries up there, so many good bars and restaurants. I'd love to go up there and have a beer. But in general, I'm just excited to visit breweries again.
Mm-hmm.
I try to visit as many breweries as possible. I know you've talked to Kendrick before, MD Craft Beer, and he inspired me to try to visit every brewery in Maryland.
Okay.
And I'm pretty close. I'm only 3 breweries away right now.
Who's on the list? Because I mean, we're oddly enough during a pandemic, we're still people opening and expanding, which is great.
I've not visited Pipe the Side.
Okay.
I've not visited Locust Post,
Mm-hmm.
and I've not visited Cinnapuxent Brewing Company, which is out in Berlin. Oh, actually 4, and I've not visited Gateway in Salisbury, and all of those have opened fairly recently.
Right. Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I'm looking forward to venturing out and visiting some of those, and hopefully, checking them all off the list.
Pipe Side's right around the corner from me now. It's now literally my new closest brewery is, again, something that Kendrick talked about. Really excited when a place opens really super close to me. So swing up that way, give me a buzz, let me know.
Cool. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Let's shift back to the brewery. What can we expect from Crooked Crab in the coming months as far as events, collabs, releases, things like that?
Sure. So we do beer releases every Thursday. We almost always have something new and fun and exciting coming out on tap. Today, as we record this, actually, we have a collab that we just did with Aslan Brewing Company.
It's really
out
good.
in Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
And they're another brewery that we looked up to a lot when, before we had gotten open. We love those guys. So it was really fun, just from a personal standpoint, to be able to brew a beer with them.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did a beer called Pot Reference. It's a kind of 420 inspired double IPA, super dank, nice pineapple puree in there, pineapple on the back end. So we're releasing that today. In the future, we just did a collab with Nepenthe up in Baltimore. We did one at their place, one at our place, and we're brewing a collab with Forward Brewing Company.
Okay.
Our friends down in Annapolis. We're brewing an oyster stout with them with some locally sourced Chesapeake Bay oysters.
Okay.
We always have something new, always have something fun. So just keep an eye on our social media and see what we've got coming out.
No, that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about coming down here is the fact that not only are you always having something new, but you've got a lot of different styles. So it's really nice for people to be able to come in and find something that they like because it's not just maybe all IPAs or things like that.
Yeah, and that's on purpose. One of our goals from the onset was we are a community brewery. I mean, we're a brewery for Odenton. We're a brewery for Anne Arundel County. Um, and, there are some breweries out there that make 15 IPAs, and that's what they have on tap. And that's great if you love IPAs.
Right.
But if you don't love IPAs, you're not going to enjoy going to that brewery.
Right.
So we kind of purposely have a very diverse tap list. We have a wide range of styles on tap at all times. We do have IPAs if people like IPAs. We have sours. We have pastry stuff if people like that. But we also have a Pilsner, a Kolsch. We have a nice spectrum of styles, and that's on purpose. So I like to think that no matter what style of beer you like to drink, we'll have something for you. I can usually, even if you're not a beer drinker, you're a wine drinker, you don't drink beer at all,
Right.
I usually can point you towards something on our draft list that you'll enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with you guys doing so many different things, and you're constantly trying to come up with new stuff. Any particular styles that you've talked about that you're like, hey, I would really like to do this, or we're gonna do this style, maybe a style people haven't seen as often, or maybe a style that you like. I mean,
one style I wish we could do more of is lagers. To be honest, every time that we've done, I'm drinking a Pink Boots Pilsner right now. It's fantastic. And we did one a few months ago called Highway to the Flavor Zone. It was a Vienna lager.
Vienna lager, yeah.
It was really, really good. And every time we do them, they're awesome and they sell really well. Problem is they just tie up our tanks for so long if you want to do them right. And it's just something that if we had more space, if we had the ability to tie up our tanks for a longer time, we would definitely do more of them. So that's something that I wish we could do a little bit more of. I'd say more barrel aging. I mean, our barrel program, we do have barrels. We have stouts aging right now as we speak, but it's pretty tame compared to what some other breweries have. We just don't have the space in the back to have a very robust barrel program. So, we'll have anywhere from like 4 to 8 barrels of stuff aging at any given time, but it's not a whole lot. This is enough to, we'll have maybe 1 or 2 releases a year, but I wish we could do a little bit more of that. That would be a lot. Because it's something we have a lot of fun with.
Right, right. Well, maybe there's something for us to look forward to if you guys are able to expand, like you said, a little more space, then you'll be able to do some of that more. Is there anything else that you'd like our audience to know that we haven't touched on today?
I would say if you haven't had any of our beer before, check us out. We've got cans and drafts all throughout the state of Maryland and Washington, D.C. Come visit our tap room. We're in Odenton, Maryland. I know a lot of people don't know where Odenton is or never heard of it before.
Close to the airport.
It's close to the airport. We're just south of BWI.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of a happy accident of how we ended here. So when we wanted to start a brewery originally, we wanted to be in Anne Arundel County, but we were first looking in the Annapolis area.
Right.
There were no breweries in Anne Arundel County at the time. There were no breweries in Annapolis at the time.
Right.
So we thought it was just a great business opportunity to open there. And for the size and the scope of what we were looking for, there wasn't a whole lot of good commercial real estate that was also relatively affordable, that also, we also encountered some issues with landlords that didn't want to have breweries in their properties. So we started expanding our search outside of that. And this property here at Odenton was one of the first ones that came up. And from a physical specification standpoint, the space was perfect. But we didn't know much of anything about Odenton at the time, to be honest. So we started kind of researching it, and we really fell in love with the town. There's a lot of people that live here. Has the same population as Annapolis, actually.
Okay.
And there's not a whole lot for people to do here.
Yeah.
So we kind of became the thing for people to do. We really became that community brewery. We became part of the fabric of this community and gave people here something to be proud of. one of the things that I hear a lot, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, was we want you guys to be here when this is all over. We really enjoy coming here. We really enjoy having a beer here, and it's a friendly atmosphere. We're family friendly. We've got a chalkboard wall for kids, and coloring books, and we have allowed dogs here and have done events for charities and other things. So we really try to be a brewery for our community here. But if you haven't come by, I would recommend. I think all of our beer is fantastic. I am biased, but I think we make great beer.
I agree.
So yeah, it's worth a drive.
Absolutely. And, what you just touched on, that was one of the things that kind of drew me when I first got back into the area. I'm born and raised up in Westminster area and with the family, and came back in this area and came down here, and it really was a community feel. I look around and, there's not only just like parents with their kids, but there's birthday parties being held here, and just different types of events. You can make friends so easily here. I met Kendrick here, and I've met a few other people. I came when you guys did your crab feast, which seemed like a natural tie-in, and I was really great. I mean, my friend Joe, he's right around the corner. He comes here all the time, loves this place, and he wasn't able to make it. And I was like, well, I'm going because I love crabs, and I haven't had Maryland crabs in forever. I've been living out of state, so came down, and it was a great event. Sat down, met 3 or 4 people at the table, and became friends. And it was a great community feel. And so I can say from personal, it's not just what you say, it really is that, and that's neat. And it's good that people have stuck by you and said that they want you to be here afterwards, because I know that means a lot.
Yeah, that's always going to be our first and primary focus is our tap room and our community. And I think that's been our mission from the beginning, is to share our beer with people here, and to share a pint, and we enjoy it. I love talking about beer. I love having beer with people, sitting down, making new friends. And I think that we've been able to accomplish that goal so far. So yeah, it's, even if you've never been here before, you don't know anyone else, we'll make you feel welcome. Absolutely. You'll feel like a regular, we've known you your whole life. That's the whole point. Absolutely.
We'll remind everyone again where they can find Crooked Crab online.
Yep, Crooked Crab Beer at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our website, crookedcrabbrewing.com.
Great. Well, again, we'll put that up on our website at sharepintpodcast.com. Well, Earl, I want to thank you for your time today and for sharing a pint with me.
Thank you, sir. Cheers.
Prost. Share a Pint is released bi-weekly on Friday mornings and can be found at sharepintpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at share_pint, and like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share a Pint is now a proud member of the Hopped Up Network. Enjoy the show and would like to contribute? Consider leaving a PayPal tip. You can do so at the PayPal button on our website at sharepintpodcast.com, or search for us on PayPal at jerry@sharepintpodcast.com. Share a Pint is made possible by help from the Community Media Center of Carroll County. Music for the show, Groundwork, provided by Kevin MacLeod, and can be found online at incompetech.com. Associated with the craft beer industry and have an interesting story you'd like to share on a future episode? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us at sharepintpodcast.com or email us at jerry@sharepintpodcast.com. Until the next time we share a pint, I'm Jerry Hulla. Prost.